Right then, people, we're back inside the building. How are we doing this morning? We are live on Trickstar Radio. Out to the Locked In crew each and every time. Out to man like Miss Locked In as well. How are you doing this morning, sir? Good to hear from you. Looking forward to talking to you next week. But right about now, we're jumping into today's interview section. So, man like J.O.S.H.U.A joins us in the building. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning, broski. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's wicked to have you in. Obviously, we've been talking for a few I think it's about a month or so now.
Around that. Yeah.
A month and a half or so now. And obviously, it's really, really interesting hearing all of the different things you're involved in, and obviously being in the lovely position I am, I thought, you know what, let's get you inside, let's have a bit of a conversation and talk to the people then about what it is you do. So for those that aren't aware, obviously with this show we get people from loads of different backgrounds, loads of different areas of the music industry, and everyone kind of has their own sort of area that they kind of populate. It feels like you populate a fair few kind of areas.
Yeah, I mean, look, music's a broad thing, so there's lots of beautiful sort of cushions and pockets of it, and yeah, but I've tried my hand in loads of different areas because you have to taste loads of things to see what you like.
Of course,
and yeah, it's all, they've all been very beautiful, and it's like anything, they all work into each other at some capacity. It's never something that you don't learn along the way, and you can't reintroduce it in a certain way, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely, man. So just so people are aware, let's just run through a list.
Okay.
of all these different things you're involved in. So just talk us through your kind of journey.
So yeah, like I say, it started off. I grew up in London, and my brother ran a pirate station. He's like 23 years older than me, so that was a big difference. But late 80s, early 90s, that was what was popping. So I was literally, I was lucky enough to be brought up in that. As a 2, 3, 4-year-old in the studio, I was surrounded by it. And then Carnival, they had floats at Carnival, and I got to experience all that from a young age. So I was blessed in that sense. And growing up in London, the sounds of pirate radio was vast. So it was an amazing sort of place to be inspired. I got decks when I was like 12, 13, and yeah, I suppose being the area that we lived, and having older brothers and sisters, like my brother encouraged me to have something to focus on that wasn't the roads. So I put all my time and effort into DJing, and it just bloomed and blossomed from there,
Definitely, man. I think it's quite an interesting kind of thing, obviously growing up in that sort of that pirate radio environment. Like there's so many things that you will have, I feel, kind of seen and not even realised how big a deal they actually were.
At the time, it's normal to you until you step back and you watch sort of documentaries and stuff, and I'm like, wow, it's a typical thing. You don't know what you've got until you've got sort of some context to appreciate it. And, now, all this time on, I'm like, I was so lucky to have experienced that. And yeah, you just count your blessings and appreciate it on another level.
Definitely, man. So kind of looking then, obviously you're someone who's quite involved in radio and has been over the years.
Yeah.
So kind of with that then, what would you say that the main sort of change now is, not necessarily in regards to the commercial side of things, but more underground stations around the country that are legal now, but are still playing underground music and fronting underground music across the nation. So what would you say the main kind of difference is?
I'd say there's so much variety now of everything, and you've never had so many options. And you ever been to a restaurant when there's a menu with like 150 things, you're like, you don't really know where to start. And you go to them certain diners where there's like 3 things on the menu, like, okay, I know where I'm at.
I know what I'm getting this evening.
Yeah. So I suppose there's pros and cons to all of it. There's a lot more for people to choose, but there's also a lot more for people to get lost in.
Yeah.
And I think I'm careful how I choose my words here, because I don't want to sort of talk anyone down. But there's quality control is a personal thing. Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff that for me is a bit wishy-washy, or that runs, but then the other side of the argument to that is, well, then, that's catering for the people that appreciate it and like and need that. And then for the ones that want something a little bit more niche and refined, then there's also that. So, yeah, has that made sense?
No, it does. I think it's basically that point of two sides to a coin. You get there's the positive side of there being so much of it, but in the fact it's the same with anything. When you start to get a lot of something, naturally the average quality will diminish slightly, because you can get involved and you can get amongst it so much more easier. There's less requirement to kind of get involved, and I think that goes the same with kind of distribution within the music industry. That goes the same across everything, like even down to YouTube channels. Like anyone can be a creator now.
Exactly,
and it is kind of crazy. So obviously with that, then, so from that sort of radio background, then, like, what other areas have you found yourself kind of traversing into?
So everything from running parties to events as well as parties, mentoring. I like to just if you've got knowledge that has been hard learned, to pass that to people to help them, advance a little bit quicker or figure their way out. I think that's it's a necessary thing for us to do. Running a label, radio. Production, DJ, there's so many angles to.
How do you find the time? How do you balance it? I love asking this question.
I think we've had this conversation, and I think when it's what you want to do, you find the time. Like anything that you want to do, you find the time. Because at different stages and ages, I thought I was committed to things, and it's not until you realize you are committed, is when you realize that you find the time to do them. You will always find the time to do what you want. So, sometimes you have to sleep a little less and get up a little earlier. But, if you're lucky enough to have something that you genuinely love, like for me personally, I'm so grateful to have that, I find the time.
Yeah, 100%, and I think that's I think people hit that point at different parts of their life. Sometimes people will kind of go, they'll balance, especially if you're sort of working alongside, obviously, which is the case for the majority of people. You tend to go, okay, cool, I can do that, but I've got to get up for work in the morning. But I've got to get up for work. But I've got to be available to go to work in 3 hours after that. And obviously, there's finding a balance. And as you said, sometimes it does require a little less sleep and waking up a little bit earlier, which tends to be the pattern which people seem to see.
Yeah, and sometimes, often, a lot of the time you have to do both. You have to work and passion, because that really tests you and shows you, okay, what am I committed to doing this? And then you'll show yourself whether you're committed to do it. If you've got to get up for work in 3 hours, but you're still working on X, Y, and Z with music, then that's commitment.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree entirely. It's really interesting to hear the kind of the general kind of scope of what you do. There's so much stuff involved with it, and obviously production is also one of those things which which we're going to dive into now. Obviously, we opened up with a track from yourself, I believe, which goes by the name of "Sing With Me," which is obviously when we came into the room this morning, you were talking a lot about obviously Garnet's voice being such a powerful thing.
Absolutely, yeah. It was just reggae music, sound system, and culture is it's probably the foundation sound that I was lucky to grow on, and just to be able to infuse that sound into what I do today is I'm grateful to be able to channel that, you know what I mean?
Of course, man, of course. And obviously with that as well then, we're going to get into this one next. It goes by the name of Tool 007.
Yes.
This one is yourself and somewhat of a local Brighton legend in Enzo Freddy.
Yes.
So talk to me about how this one came together.
So Enzo and I, we're absolute homies, He's one of my closest friends, an amazing character, just an inspiring dude, crazy amazing musician, him and his brother as well, Sav E, big up Sav every time. And Enzo and I have been involved in lots of things, and I live in Ibiza for 6 months of the year, and he comes over, we work, and just do. And this particular vibe, and it was just a lovely sunny afternoon. We was catching a vibe in the studio, and it was made live in the most raw and simple way. That was used. It's a loop from record box and a drum machine, That's it. Like,
that's the tune.
That's the tune.
Amazing, man. Well, I'm looking forward to getting into this. I got to say, I'm looking forward to hearing what the product of that sunny environment is, you know, more than anything else. First of all, obviously you're not on socials at the moment, which we'll talk a little bit more about a little bit later on. As we move forward. So we'll find a way of getting involved. We're going to get into this one now. Though. This one is Tool 007. J.O.S.H.U.A is in the building. This one featuring Enzo Freddy. Keep it locked, people, and don't go anywhere. We're live on the big bad Trickstar Radio.
With CubCamTV.
Trickstar Radio.